Today's guest is Victor Okoye. Victor has a fascinating story from growing up in Nigeria to film school in New York to eventually making his way here to North Texas, where he's launching an international company. If you're a creative or an entrepreneur, this is one episode you won't want to miss. Welcome to the show. When I think of you, I really think of somebody who's like a citizen of the world. You lived in a lot of places. You have a pretty much a global perspective. And I want to spend a little time talking about your story.
Okay.
So I think you're originally from Nigeria.
That's correct.
Okay. So you grew up there? Like talk about, take me back to the beginning, Victor.
To the very beginning. Okay. So I grew up in Nigeria, the southeastern part of Nigeria. I'm Igbo. It's one of the tribes in Nigeria. We have like 1,000.
Oh, wow.
1,000, more like 200 and something. But okay. I grew up in Nigeria, and I grew up in a family of 8. I was the last born.
Wow, that's a lot of brothers and sisters.
I know. 2 brothers, 5 sisters.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I do have that.
What were the dynamics of that? Because they're all older sisters. Were they like...
Honestly, it's hard to put it together because the family structure in Nigeria is a bit different than what you get out here.
Okay.
So we're all together. My dad and mom were together for like a long time. We're still together until he passed. And I don't think it was more okay. By the time I grew older, at least 2 of my siblings were already out of the house. Mm-hmm. And for me, I just had a carefree life. I was the last born. I got most of what I wanted.
Yeah.
So it helped in a way. But anyway,
well, the brothers and sisters, broke all the rules. And
yes, they did all the things.
Laid the pathway for you, where it's like we're over this now.
So I feel like the last borns, whenever they were born, the parents are already tired of training and want to just let you be. So they kind of let me have it in a way. But the good thing is I learned a lot from my brothers and sisters.
Okay.
Because I feel like they had gone through life and had all these things done. Mm-hmm. So just by watching them and seeing what they did, I learned what not to do and what to do. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty good learning experience for me as well. But so I grew up in the southeastern part of Nigeria, a city called Oka precisely. I think I went to high school there as well, what we call secondary school.
Okay.
Mostly. And then I left the country when I was 18. But before leaving the country, actually, my dad passed when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And from then onwards, I sort of picked up a skill set outside I learned from my mom. The hustle mindset or hustle skill set.
Okay.
Much. So right now I'm a software engineer, mm-hmm. but the skill of being a software engineer actually started all the way back to when I was like 16.
Okay. What do you mean you say that? Like, does that mean you're at a computer starting to program as software engineer?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, the first computer I ever touched was a keyboard I picked from the dustbin.
Okay.
From the trash. True story. So,
what kind of computer was it?
It was just a keyboard.
Just the keyboard. Okay.
No screen.
Okay.
Just a keyboard, no screen. We grew up poor.
Okay.
Very poor. Although I didn't know it.
That's
good.
Actually really good.
We grew up poor, but I didn't know that we were poor. Because,
right.
as a kid, I had very few needs. But I know
that's so wonderful, though. That's the beauty of being a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I had friends who had things that I wanted. I knew I couldn't have them. I just didn't know why. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a TV at home till I was like maybe 20.
Oh, wow.
There was no actual TV. And we didn't also, I didn't also have a computer. Obviously, of course, I didn't see computer until I was like maybe like 14, 15. And again, I had an interest in it. I had an interest in anything computer. So when I was in primary school, I knew we had like computer classes. And that was the first time I ever saw one. But before then, I'd move around the dustbin or the trash, where they throw trash away with my friends. And then I found these keyboards that were broken. So I first learned how to type on just a keyboard I picked from the trash that had no screen.
So there wasn't a lot to type then, right?
It wasn't a lot to type, but I just knew how to write. I knew where to put the ADFS. I just knew where things were pretty much. But so that was the early start. But then shortly after that, I believe from picking that keyboard up, I think my sister-in-law offered me a PlayStation Portable PSP.
Okay.
And then I think that's pretty much the first time, like the pathway to my life got created from that simple random act of kindness. Because then what I did was I would spend 4 days and 4 nights at a cyber cafe. That's a place where you go to where they have like internet connection. They have computers.
Yeah,
stay there.
I remember those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would stay there and then download like softwares for the game. So I'll spend 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. downloading because the internet was slow. So I had to stay that long to get it. And then
This is on your PSP. You downloaded it at the cyber cafe.
Yeah, on a PSP or on a USB drive. And then 7 a.m. I will go to the market. This is market we call like Kalka. And on each about like 5 cities. I'll travel from each city to the other. And I'll sell those games to every single person.
Is that even legal?
It wasn't legal, but that was what I could do at the time.
Yeah, that's very resourceful.
I will sell the game. But as I got to different stores and I asked each person, some people will be like, I don't need a game. I'm like, what do you need? There's got to be something you want.
Yeah.
And so some people will say, oh, I want Photoshop, I want Adobe Premiere Pro, I want Final Cut Pro. So I'll go back to the cyber cafe the next day and download it again. Now, the curiosity was that when I started picking up like softwares for people, I got curious, like, hey, what do these softwares do?
Yeah.
And then first was Photoshop, and that's how I learned how to edit pictures.
Okay.
And from pictures, I learned how to edit movies. And then from editing movies, I learned how to shoot films. And from shooting films, I learned that I wanted to create something that would basically bring filmmakers together, a creative hub. But because I couldn't learn how to do that, because I couldn't do that, I didn't have enough money to fund the software developers that could do that. I picked up the skill of software engineering, and that's why I'm here today.
Okay, wow. So if I recall, somehow you ended up in Russia.
Yes.
Did you go from Nigeria to Russia?
Yes. So in my country, you have 3 choices of your career path.
Okay.
4, actually. You're either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a disappointment.
So this is what your parents teach.
That's for everyone.
Okay.
That's not just my parents, it's everyone. So my option was actually being a pharmacist. And then a good place to get that degree for a lot less expensive price than you'll get here was actually Ukraine, basically. Currently, the place now is currently contested.
Yeah.
So I moved out there. When I got there, I realized, hey, I could do pharmacy for 5 years. I could do medicine for 6 years and get basically the same degree, but much better.
Yeah.
So I did medicine there. I hold a medical degree.
Okay.
From Ukraine.
Which you're aggressively using as a software engineer.
Yes.
What were the things you learned though in medical school? I feel like there'll be life skills a person gets there.
There's a lot actually. I tell people sometimes that it's not really going to, so I've heard people make the case against going to college, and I said take it from someone that's not using his degree. If I had to do it all over again, I was to go to school again. I was to go to the university and go through that 6 years again, because it's not just really what you thought. It is the people you meet.
Right.
It's that experience that life puts you through that makes university or what you call here college experience worth it.
Yeah.
And besides the knowledge of understanding the human system, the human psyche, the human body, and all that, there's a whole lot more to that. Like the individuals, all those different personalities that you meet up. I honed my business skills in medical school. It was where I actually honed it well, because then when I went to school, I didn't have a source of income, so I had to build the first photo studio in Lugansk, Ukraine. I basically had hired 4 people, and that's kind of where I started shooting films and everything else. Started going from there. But yeah, it helped.
Wow. Yeah. So you self-funded your.
Pretty much, yes.
That's really ambitious to go to another country.
Yeah.
Just do school and have to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah, because also they won't let you work. I mean, as a student, you're not allowed to work. So we had to find a way to. I had to find a way to create my own funds within the school. Like when students came to the school, they will require passports, photographs. So they will always usually travel out of campus to get it. So I figured, well, I could just create the space for them within the hostel. So they all come to the hostel and take it, and they just pay me. That's how I started.
Yeah, that's cool. That was like your first entrepreneurial endeavor.
Pretty much that.
Okay, so you're in Ukraine, and where did you go from there?
I was in Ukraine for 6 years, and after Ukraine, I moved to New York.
Okay.
So shortly before I finished medical school, I had this interest in creative content, like filmmaking specifically. Mentally, I thought, or I've always just had this notion that storytelling does have a very powerful force to it that can actually morph a human being and a human consciousness. Personally, my life, I would define it in two phases: before I saw Coach Carter and after I saw Coach Carter.
Okay.
Because it made a whole difference in my life, quite frankly. So I was held at Coach Carter is this movie about this basketball coach that
I know the name, but I don't recall the story.
It was Samuel L. Jackson. They had this quote: what is your deepest fear? My deepest fear is not being adequate, is I'm powerful beyond measure. It just keeps going on and on. But it was personally for me, that's what transformed my life.
Okay.
That single story.
Wow.
From that point onwards. And so I figured, well, there has to be a way that this could work as far as infusing that. So I had this entire idea of telling stories that kind of framed certain things in a different way. It entertains for sure, but then you leave that story or that experience with a very specific, impactful message that can help guide your path as you live through life, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to explore that part. So just around 5th year, I started looking into going to New York Film Academy to pick up like a film degree and see how I can explore that. And what's actually interesting is that by the time I was done, I had developed this short called Purpose that's it's being used in at least 700 schools in mental health counseling in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of still got to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're I want to talk about your current business in a minute, but you're basically your passion for content and film has really been going on a long time.
Yes.
Even in medical school.
It was.
Yeah.
So I consider myself a storyteller first.
So you came to New York and did film school?
That's correct.
Okay. How did you end up in software engineering?
So in film school, actually before film school, the idea that I'm building now, I had in 2012. So in 2012, I had the notion of creating like a large pool of, a digital pool of content creators where I can connect them to businesses to help them create their contents, ads and different things of that nature. But then at the time, I didn't have a programming skill set.
Yeah.
And so I tried to hire a couple of engineers back then in Ukraine, and the bills were like, it was like $50,000 just to get it done. I mean, it's not expensive looking at it now, but at the time I didn't have it.
Yeah, you're
I didn't have student. So I figured, well, for like a long time, I kept trying to get different people to get on board with it and give them equity, but that never quite worked out. So 2018, I figured, well, I was making film at the time. And again, I felt like the dream was running too long and I haven't really done it yet. So I learned how to code to do it. So I learned how to code. And
how does one learn to code?
YouTube. I don't call myself a self-taught engineer. I'm a YouTube-taught engineer.
Okay.
I learned everything I know today from YouTube. Wow. So I did. And then I found out a way you could make a lot of money by being an engineer only with no degree. So because I was started working on my product. It's not the degree that
matters. It's the skill that matters.
The skill set that matters. Yeah. And then I then signed up for... well, not that. When I learned to code, I started working on my business. And then on the side, I started working for some companies. And then I got hired by Microsoft. Then I worked for GM, I worked for 7-Eleven. And from there, I realized, there's a whole lot of money in this field to be made, actually. And you can actually write code and sell them. Yeah. Because what I thought, what I learned eventually. And so that's how I'm doing it right now.
Okay. Well, at some point, you relocated here to Plano, Texas. What inspired that move?
So, like I said, when I left school, I came to New York straight. So, New York was my first touch point in the United States. And I actually liked New York. I liked New York a lot. Or so I thought. Yeah. I thought I liked New York. So, when I started my transition into software engineering, I really hoped I was going to get my first gig in New York. It didn't pan out that way. My first gig actually was with JCPenney at the headquarters around Legacy. And so I moved here for that with the hope that in 3 months I'm just going back to New York because New York is really where I thought my life was going to be at. And when I came here, I realized, wait a second, this place is clean. It's not dirty. It's nice. And so I went back to New York 3 months later. I'm like, wait a second, how did I live here for this long? So New York just became a place I didn't want to live in again. I just didn't want to be there anymore.
There's so many people there too.
So many people. I tell people that New York is like an abusive boyfriend. You don't know how bad you have it until you've left. It's just the dirt, and then how everything is so small. When I came here and I thought, oh, this is definitely a good place I could settle.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
And that's how we met in the process
That's
of
how we met,
your
looking for
place
a
in the
home.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've lived in a couple countries. I know from speaking with you too, you've traveled a lot of places. Mm-hmm. In what ways has the United States surprised you?
In many ways, actually. The cultural shock, at least for the most part. Things are a bit different here. They're quite different, not in a bad way. They're different.
Here being Texas, or here being the
United
US?
States.
Okay.
United States. It's very different. There's I can't put it into words, but the people or the way things are structured here almost build a sense of individualism rather than community, and you have to sort of understand that to thrive in this space. So, and in New York was actually first I witnessed this. Everyone in New York is so busy, they don't care about you. They're just moving around doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. And then you have to kind of figure out how to like vault your way into that. But, so that was a cultural shock for me. And
so you're saying other places there's a more
community
driven,
it's more so that way than community,
take care of each other.
Yes.
And I guess touching down in New York, it's like fiercely every man for himself.
Yes, and it's a lot different in Texas though. Texas has that more going for it. As a matter of fact, before I moved to Texas, my friends in New York were like, "Why do you move to Texas?" I'm like, "Oh, it's really nice. Oh, that place is bad, is racist and stuff." I'm like, "No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's the nicest place I've ever been. There's more racism in New York than you get anywhere else."
Yeah, I was talking to somebody recently about California, and they're like, "Don't you miss California? Like, don't you want to live there?" And I was like, well, the funny thing about California is they're like, we're so open-minded as long as you believe like us. Yeah. Like, yes. Well, that's not being open-minded.
That doesn't matter at all. Not even close.
How it works.
So it was that, but definitely Texas was much better. Like people are very much nicer here. Like they're way nicer here. Mm-hmm. Like people want to help you. Really, in New York, nope. Yeah. Maybe I didn't explore a lot. Maybe I didn't like meet so many people more. But here in Texas, at least, was different for me. The experience was way better than what I felt in New York.
So things that stood out to you about the culture, one were people. What else stood out to you about the culture?
The culture
in Texas here.
In Texas. I think I liked the people better in Texas. Certainly, that's one. Two, things were less expensive. They're less expensive. They're less expensive. The housing and stuff is less expensive to actually be here. I think people here are more so business oriented. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to make good connections, so something else about New York is what I was telling someone this yesterday. I'm like, New York sells you this big dream that if you just stay here just one more day, you'll get it. Like it's happening just 2 blocks away from Wall Street, and you just stay there long enough, you meet that actress who's gonna give you the next role. But it's just something that never happens. Mm-hmm. Texas actually, I've made more business connections here. People who are actually doing things like that dream that New York almost sells you, and LA sells you too as well. You actually get here.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking to thrive in a business setting, meet people who can actually take you from point A to point B. Texas had that for me. Dallas specifically.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, I do want to talk to you about that moment about the startup culture here. Mm-hmm. But while we're talking culture in Texas, or just Texas in general, what's your favorite thing to do in your free time here?
I go. I take long drives.
Race your car. Yeah.
Race my car.
Not like on a track.
No, not true.
Okay.
I drive out early in the morning, sometimes 4:30 on Friday mornings or Saturday mornings. Pretty fun.
That's pretty early.
Yeah, the roads are clear. Dallas doorway, you could do like 120, and no one's going to talk to you at all. Yeah, and then golfing sometimes whenever I have time. I'm not great at it. I just do that for fun.
It's nice to be outside.
Yes, and I hang out with friends. Just find some nice restaurants. There are really great restaurants around here.
Yeah, we have an underappreciated restaurant scene here in the North Texas area.
There's a lot of them, but they make really good food as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if you had a friend that was coming here from out of the state, what's something you would do with them or show them?
First of all, I probably want to show them the Dallas nightlife, certainly.
Okay.
It has a pretty good, vibrant
I'm pretty boring, so tell me about the Dallas nightlife.
Oh, it's good.
Really?
I'm not a nightlife kind of guy, but the few times I've gone on that,
and if somebody's visiting,
I should do this more.
Late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great restaurants, great people, like great streets, like great activities, great nightlife, the clubs, the lounges. They're
Where
really,
do you
really
go
fun.
For this?
Would I go for that? Where specifically?
Yeah.
There was this little place. It had an M in the name. I've forgotten the names actually, but there's this particular place I went to. Was it about a month ago?
I'm guessing this is like in Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. Dallas, yeah. Oh, here in Plano, a couple places. If you go to the Concrete Cowboys, have you been?
Yeah, no, but I know. Like I said, I'm bored. I'm home reading my book or something.
Concrete Cowboys is pretty good. Like most Friday night, Saturday night, Sambuca 360 is pretty solid. I think Pepper Smash too, pretty good as well.
Okay.
Depends on what day you go there. To go there too. I think those three places. There are a couple of other places as well, like the Grandscape place. Is it Grandscape?
Yeah, Grandscape.
Grandscape has a little activity thing going
There's
on
a
there.
lot going on there.
Yes.
Grandscape is super family oriented, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
But even if you're not doing that, you could, if you ever, because I have people come from Dallas and go to Legacy West just to go to restaurants. Mm-hmm. It has a pretty good evening vibes, like Friday evening, Saturday mornings. Yeah. I go out there every Saturday morning just to sit down, meet people. Like most of my business connections, I meet people there. Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where at Legacy West does one go for this?
Just by the Starbucks.
Oh yeah, that's a nice Starbucks.
Yeah,
too.
if you see, I actually turns story. I bought my car because there was a man I met there, Mark. Okay. I met there. He was driving a Carrera 4 when I met him 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I met him. I bought the car because I had seen him driving that, and then since then we've just been inseparable. We just talk and we chat. But he comes there every Saturday morning, 6:30 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Fun environment, yeah.
In between episodes, stay up to date on all things home and lifestyle with my weekly newsletter, Into the Weekend with Matt, where I share the latest real estate updates, new videos from our team, and advice for both buyers and sellers alike. To sign up, go to hastingsre.com/ITW. That's HAISTINGSRE.com/ITW. So, if you were moving to Texas all over again, though, what would you do different?
I would want it to be exactly to 2019 for sure.
Because of prices?
Yes. 2019 for sure. I would buy the home I first thought I wanted to buy, which was the one across the street from Legacy West. Now they're like $1 million plus.
You're talking about the basically villas at Legacy West.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the point when I checked, at least I remember checking them.
Those used to be like $600,000.
Exactly.
And now they're like $1.6 million.
Exactly.
You can maybe get one for $1 million.
Yes.
I've been blown away by how much those have appreciated.
And I actually looked into the prices when I first moved. Mm-hmm. I looked into the prices, but then I didn't know why I didn't jump at the time. And by the time I go back to it again, boom, it was out. So that's when I'll probably buy my first home and let it get here. Just do it. Do it first. And hopefully it was 2019 if I have a time machine. Yeah. Take me back in time.
If anybody in real estate a time machine. Yeah, 2019 or 2018.
Yeah. Yes. I probably would have. A part of me still wants to, because I've been to Dallas a couple of times, and I like the vibe. Even though I know I won't want to live there for long, I would probably want to experience just live in Dallas for maybe a month or two, just Dallas proper,
maybe a short term,
yeah,
rental or something. That's an interesting idea. When I first moved to Dallas, I had a job downtown. And so I lived in West Village for a year, and it was kind of fun. But it helped me get my feet on the ground, and figure out how things worked in Dallas. But I quickly realized, this is a little too urban for me personally. Mm-hmm. That's interesting advice, though. Yeah,
I mean, the few times I've been there, I've actually had a good time just being there, and it's almost like it's the closest I can get to being in New York without being in New York. So it's good.
With it being clean?
Cleaner New York.
Homeless people.
Cleaner New York. Yes, certainly. But it's been fun. Every time I've gone to Dallas, I had fun. Really.
Yeah.
I just don't go as often as I want to go.
Yeah, Dallas proper is fun. I've spent a little more time there this year than in years past.
Yeah, I was at was it Dallas Uptown, the rooftop restaurant? Have you been?
Like HG Supply? There's a couple of different spots down there.
There's one called, it's right where they have RH, the upholstery store, the restoration house.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like on Knox Henderson area.
Yes. Yeah, right about there actually.
Yeah.
I was there I've been there twice. Pretty fun place as well, if you go out. Yeah, they have really good brunch areas as well. Oh, talk about places to go on Saturdays or weekends. Have you been to the place, what's the place where the last cowboy trains? Where the train?
Star in Frisco.
Yes, right there. Sundays between hours of 11 and 3. Good. Really good.
There's a lot going on there.
Yes.
That blows my mind too.
Place you go.
Because the Frisco high school teams play their games there.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Yes.
I
But
mean,
at any time, if you're ever trying to like meet people or like have some fun activities, just go there. And I think they opened Sidecar there too recently. Yeah. It's pretty, I was there last weekend and I was like, whoa, there's a lot of people here.
yeah, I think the next place, if I'm guessing, is going to be the PGA area in Frisco.
Oh.
I think that area is going to be kind of the next hub, if you will, like going up Dallas North Tollway. Right? You got Legacy West, you got the Star, and then it's almost in Prosper, but that's a pretty cool operation. It's in the beginning stages still, but I think when it gets really built out, it'll be the same. Is it true
that Disney is putting something together in Frisco too? Or is that a project that they put on the side?
I don't know for sure.
Oh.
I had heard something about that, but I've been so busy I didn't really research that one too much. Universal has announced
I think it's Universal.
Yeah,
sorry,
Universal has
that is
announced
one of the
plans
studios.
there. Somebody on their Instagram posted about Disney, and I didn't pay too much to their post, but it was related to Frisco, so I wondered the same thing. It's hard for me to imagine.
Yeah.
Because Disney is so huge.
Yeah. I think it was Universal that they mentioned.
Yeah, Universal is going to have a small park there.
Okay.
It's not a ton of acreage. So it won't be like Florida or not Disney, but
it's probably going to still
but
drive the prices up in Frisco area anyway.
Well, yeah, they keep going up.
Yeah.
Frisco is surprisingly expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it is that expensive, actually. Yeah. Well, am I surprised?
Why? What makes you surprised?
Because I would imagine that would probably be Plano.
Well, Frisco has newer and bigger houses.
Newer, oh.
And so I think that's a big part of the pricing there is a lot of the homes that have been built are relatively good size.
Oh, I see.
And then new constructions always tends to be on a higher price point. So I think that's part of the reason. And you get pockets of, you look at West Plano, which is a little newer housing inventory in the whole scheme of Plano, and it's pretty much on par with Frisco prices.
It also feels like the people there are like old money. Like they've been living there for a long time.
In Frisco or
in Frisco?
I guess it depends on what part.
Yeah,
there are areas that I could imagine.
You know where Stonebriar is at?
I knew that's what you were thinking. Yeah,
Stonebriar. Because one of my friends from the country club, he lived like the home he grew up in was just across the golf course, and then he said he always wanted to get it, and I think it was between the first day he told me and the next day he checked that it was like 2.7 million.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah.
And there's another area near there, like Creeks of Stonebriar, I think it's called. That's like estate homes. Those are all a few billion. They're hidden away. That's an amazing location.
It is.
It's funny. I don't think of Frisco as old money.
I don't know. I get that vibe.
If I'm thinking of anywhere, I would think Highland Park and University
Highland
Park.
Certainly, yes.
But it's certainly funny because Texas old money is not like other places. Right? Yes. It's still pretty new.
Yeah.
It's maybe just a couple generations at the most.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, speaking of money, I want to talk about your new your entrepreneurial journey, which we talked about a little bit, and I think you have a venture you're launching here soon. The name is Thespian?
Thespian, yes.
Thespian. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, so Thespian is pronounced THSPIAN without the E.
Okay.
Thespian actually, it's a digital hub for creatives. Well, for one, we're hoping, or our aim here is to kind of create a digital sphere for creatives across Africa, where we can then connect them to large and small businesses to basically assist them in creating like their content. Like we know we live in a content-driven economy currently. Yeah. So essentially, if filmmakers or creatives on YouTube and Instagram find a way that they can actually still make this content but get paid besides the ads, get paid by these big companies. That's something even I personally wish I had at the time when I was doing my film itself. Yeah. But so that's what we're aiming for. But Thespian as it is actually much bigger. We have like multiple products. Okay. Like we do also have like an audition application. So for creatives that are looking to like say have like a bigger audience, or they're looking to create, let's say, like a movie of some kind, we provide a platform for them to be able to like cast and find people that can feature in their production. Okay. And then we also are a data house for anything media or entertainment in the same space. Essentially, our goal is that we can incentivize investors if they know that the data on this in the space, they're able to like make better judgment or put more money within that space as well.
When you say investors, you're not talking so much about your company, but
not my company
for production.
For the productions, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this something you want to launch just in Africa, or is the vision that would be other countries or continents too?
There will be other continents certainly, but for now, we want to start from Africa and then expand outwards from there. We're actually starting with 2 countries in Africa, and then expand outwards from there.
Okay. Nigeria being one, I guess.
Nigeria and Ghana. Being the first ones, and then we'll expand outwards. But obviously, we do hope to also reach out to creatives beyond those shores. So that's definitely in our pipeline within a year.
Yeah. So what's the big vision? Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years?
In 5 to 10 years, the goal really is to become. We're trying to be that media house for anything entertainment across Africa, the whole of Africa.
Okay.
Essentially, what IMDb and the Oscars does here for Hollywood, we want to be that for the entertainment space in Africa. The music space in Africa has blown over the past few years, and the story part, the filmmaking part, hasn't really quite caught up yet.
Okay.
So we're trying to bridge that gap.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing to think about. So it's not as developed. You're in the beginning of that.
Yes, it's So there are three big movie making spaces in the world. There's Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's Bollywood. And there's another less one called Nollywood.
Nollywood.
It's interesting. Yeah. Nollywood. Now, Nollywood actually makes more movies than Hollywood.
Really?
Not better.
No, just more.
It's just more. So It's a lot of content. It's not better, it's just more.
Okay.
And there's a vast majority of talent across board within Ghana, Cameroon, Kenya, and Nigeria.
Okay.
Now, it's a bit of I wouldn't say it's a mayhem there or chaotic in a sense, but our attempt is to bring a bit of structure into this place as well.
Okay.
One is the reason why the movies are not as good as they should be is because we don't have a lot of money coming to the space. Investors don't know what they're getting into, for sure. So, and that's where we come in. Our attempt is to provide that structure. Okay, fine. How much did this movie make at X time? When can we release this film to make this amount of money? Who's on it and all that?
Okay.
Provide our platform is AI driven to actually give you a good prediction on what your investments can yield you over a specific time frame.
Okay.
That's one. But also because most people that actually create content within the space, their idea is we're just trying to, they do that. They create their content as a source of living. They just make it to make money to survive. They don't really pay so much attention to the art. Not everyone, obviously, but most people just do it, and it's understandable because, that's where they live.
Yeah.
The goal, though, is for us to infuse our cash into that space to move away from that. Okay, you just create because you want to make enough money to survive. To, we have $100,000 to give you as an award if your movie makes it #1 on our top chart.
Okay.
Pretty much. So now your incentive changes. You're incentivized to tell stories that matter. Mm-hmm. Things that actually work.
That'll get traction.
So, and the Oscar, the reason why I mentioned Oscar earlier is that because we're actually trying to set up such an award system that we curate movies, the best 4 films from the 4 points of Africa, from the Southern, Eastern, Western, and Northern Africa.
Okay.
The best 4 movies win a top prize over every other year or 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't think about in terms of our U.S. film industries. It's very developed.
Yes.
The metrics are there already. We can see on Monday how much the movie made at the box office, who won by making the most money, or how many visitors, and then they have a pretty robust award system, and a lot of people. It's funny because it's obviously important to Hollywood people because they time their releases for the rewards, right? So
they do.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I haven't thought about the industry in that way. And so you're trying to bring some of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of metrics and technology that goes into that. There's a lot of technology that goes into that. And now think of it this way, because the market size we're addressing is over 300 million people. Same size you have here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 300 million people, but with currently zero technology. We don't know. And again, a market that makes almost 10 times the amount of movies made here. Again, not better.
just more.
Just more.
It's quantity versus quality.
And there's so much more. So there's so much skilled talent over there that we can harness. And again, the movies, the stories haven't even crossed that boundary yet. So part of our approach is also to expose that market to international markets as well. Yeah. Where we can actually screen them. Very great story. There's so many stories that over there have never been told at all. That's not Wakanda or Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's not the original African story. But expose that story to this side of the world where like the companies here can actually see, hey, this is things we can improve upon and invest into.
What language are they most predominantly filming in?
English, actually.
Really?
Yes.
So there's a lot of content.
There's a lot of content in English.
Written and filmed in English.
Absolutely.
How do people consume it, though?
So right now, Netflix and Amazon, they've been kind of infused into the space a little bit.
Okay.
So some of them are on Netflix. Not as big, but they're there. And there's some local streaming services as well. Not local, I would call them. There are a couple of ones that are actually like doing well, that people also like subscribe to and watch their contents on. There's a couple of awards that currently like happen there as well. I think AMAA is one of them, and AfroFest is another one as well. So, but everything is being done in a small scale at a time. So, and what Thespian is trying to do, because beyond just like being a platform to have these creatives come in, is to be that one place where you can get reviews of these movies, which one had the best score, the highest numbers, the box office numbers itself. And the reason why I mentioned that we have multiple products is that Thespian being the mother company, we have sub-products like actually address different issues. So like the audition part would address to people who are looking to hire actors for the film. The ratings and movie data will be the place where people can come and see, hey, what movie performed the best in this weekend. Then the content area, we have the awards, is one that addresses the awards specifically to these movies as well. So we have different products.
Yeah, and so you've built a whole team already who's working on this.
Yes.
When do you launch?
Our goal is to go live on December 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that's 2 weeks from now, but at least we need to start. We are going to start our QA testing on December 1st. And then hopefully by mid-December, we'll have the very first version and have our first initial testers come on.
So who are your customers for this?
Right now, actually, would say every content creator or aspiring content creator within the African continent.
Okay. Do they pay to be on it?
You don't pay to be on it. If you have a vision and you can create and you can come on the platform, and just what we do is we're launching with about 4 campaigns.
Okay.
Which are like something that are very basic. We have a couple of partners, and you can create the content and we present your content to our partners. If they appreciate what you've done, they pay you for it and they take it from you.
Okay, so they'll buy it from you. They buy it
from you, and yes.
Interesting.
So you don't pay anything to be on it.
Wow. Okay.
It's all free. So even if you don't, you can use your content on YouTube if you want. There's no restrictions. But essentially, it's just another way to get paid for what you've made. Okay.
So if somebody puts their content on there, and let's say I want to buy it, I pay Thespian, and then they take a cut. Is that how you'll make money as a business? Or?
So we have 2 business models, pretty much, right? For one, you don't see the content and buy it. We actually partner with you before that. Let's say your company wants to create an ad for Christmas. Now you could hire an agency to create it for you for $10,000, $20,000.
Yeah,
sure. They could deliver it to you quite all right? But you could give us your instructions, what you want for that particular thing. And we have about 5,000 creatives, and we send that instruction to 5,000 creatives. And now we structure out our payouts in 2 levels. So we have audience awards and we have the first place award, which is the one you really want. Now we have 5,000 creatives attempt that idea. Now 5,000 creatives, now you get to pick just one or maybe 2 of them if you want, who will get maybe like $1,000, like a tenth of what you were going to pay another agency in the first place. But then the audience awards means that we actually have those creatives push this creation out to the audience. So whatever exposure that you're looking to achieve, we're going to multiply that by however amount of folds of creators that we have, giving you that larger exposure to the market. And then and all it costs you is about a quarter of what it would have cost you if you actually hired like an agency to do that in the first place. Yeah,
that's very interesting. So you found a need in the marketplace.
Yes.
It's interesting because your marketplace is on another continent. How has that been launching it from here and predominantly in the States?
So because what we do is actually mostly cloud-based, and we do have people on the ground, like my VP of digital content is in Nigeria. Okay. So he's a creator himself there.
Okay, makes sense.
And one of our developers also is in Nigeria as well. So she also knows what's going on there. And actually my assistant also is in Nigeria too.
Wow.
So we have a large foothold there already.
Okay.
So what we're just doing here is registered in Texas. What we're doing here really is just the creative aspect of it. We're just building it, and so we could be building it from Iraq or Iran. It doesn't matter. It's just that
that's so crazy about technology.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in the industry that's like the reverse, right? Like
you have to be in the same
want to buy a
space.
house in Plano, I'm probably in Plano. Yeah.
So, but just
it's amazing.
We've been building it from different places, and essentially we just launch it. And then the good thing is we don't have to maintain a physical office. We do have support staffs in place for phone calls if anyone has a call and anything, but they could be anywhere anyway. So
yeah. So how's it been collaborating across the globe, really?
It's pretty good, actually. It hasn't been that with the advent of Teams and Zoom calls. So we have meetings every other weekend. It hasn't been kind of hitch at all. Quite honestly, it's been pretty straightforward. It's just 6 people, so we're good.
Yeah.
If it will get bigger, maybe then it will be maybe an issue then. But right now, because we're so small, and everyone kind of knows, we don't know each other. We have our phone numbers, so it's a lot easier to manage at the time. And we hope to keep it this way at least for the next year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I'll be in Nigeria next month to just meet up with a couple of my meet up with the VP and then the developers and stuff. And just see how things are happening on the ground.
Yeah, that's a lot of miles. But you're traveling out for fun too.
Yes, I'm going to see family too as well.
Yeah, so that's a plus. Yeah. Now, what's been a big lesson you learned while launching your company?
If someone told me how hard it would be to complete what I'm doing right now, when I started, I'll still do it.
You would still do it?
Yeah.
Would you think twice though?
I would probably think twice. I like what I do. I like the fact that I wake up in the morning and I can put something together. I can think of a feature and build it and see it behave the way I had planned for it to behave. It's really interesting. I hear this people say all the time, if you like what you do, you won't have to work a day in your life. Not completely true, but in my case, there's an exception there, essentially because I've poured my heart into this product, and I like what it has become. Like just seeing it every day, and I like where we're driving it to. I would also say the biggest lesson as well is that half the time, because what I've been kind of trying to do for the past month and a half or so is putting myself in the shoes of my audience. Like, what would I want this to be? How would I want this to behave? And also trying to play with colors and different shapes to be sure that the user experience is as top-notch as I want it to be. Because we play media. We have a lot of video content on our platform.
Yeah, of course.
And the bar for entry now is very high because Instagram is there, TikTok is there. And so you have to at least
it's just going to keep getting bigger too. That's the crazy. Yeah. The bar just keeps going up and up.
Yeah,
at
least get to that point where you don't have a wonky, wobbly video. It's got to be at least normal before you go from there. So putting all that together, and I've learned a lot. Again, remember, I learned how to program myself. And there's so many things I don't know. And by going through that process, going through that process of shooting for those big goals, I think one thing I learned was that if you put yourself in a sink or swim situation, you will develop incredible swimming skills.
Yeah.
That is the one thing. So I'm now not afraid to dream bigger.
Yeah.
To see how far can I push this. So even when I don't know it completely, I learn something just enough that can apply to the next thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dream big is one of our Compass entrepreneurship principles, and it's always fun to think about how can you stretch your dream.
The dream's so big that it scares you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You said, sink or swim. I always think about a Tony Robbins quote where he says, if you want to take the island, you burn the boats.
Yes.
And, it's kind of a true thing for entrepreneurship. Yeah. You talked a little bit about the startup culture in Texas. Maybe you could expand upon that more specifically. Like, what's been some of the things that stood out to you about the startup culture here locally?
Actually, I think the interactivity between the different entrepreneurs. I think there's a bunch of networking activities that happens every weekend, I believe. Okay. So I think there's the mixers that happen. So if you have a startup and you're trying to run that in Texas, there's a huge support group for you on that. And there are a lot of companies that are just here to actually help support and fund you if that's what you're looking for. I've been to a number of them, and everyone is pretty nice and chilling. They're always looking to help you out and work with you and all that stuff. So the person The individual who I hired as my VP, I met him at one of the startups, one of the mixers that I was at.
Okay.
That's how we connected. And
Yeah.
we found out that our dreams were kind of aligned. He's not a content creator himself, but he's an engineer and he's also Nigerian. So I figured, well, we could actually make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. It's really great.
Yeah, that's my hypothesis that I've seen is that it's way more dynamic than people think. We
Yes.
talked a little about New York and LA, and then of course startups, people always think about the Bay Area, but I think there's a lot more here bubbling beneath the surface than many people realize.
Actually, I was in San Francisco, was LA this year. I think the company I went with, they had moved out from San Francisco. They moved to Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
So it's not as much as you think it is there. There are other places, there are other pockets. Because startup, if you're running any business, especially it's not something that has a physical product, like a cloud-based business, right? Essentially, you could run it from anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think companies are realizing very quickly, I don't have to be here. I don't have to pay $5,000 for a one-bedroom apartment just to be here. So they're now moving all the way out. And Austin has a lot. I actually I saw more of the startup culture in Austin than I saw in SF.
Wow.
I did.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I mean, besides seeing the driverless cars and like people walking the street with laptops and stuff, besides that, the actual Austin I went, I felt like, hey, the people more people here doing things that are cool. And I think that there was this conference called it's a Black Tech conference that was also held in Austin recently.
Okay.
So there's a huge culture there, quite frankly.
Which is reverse what people think when they think of Texas, right?
Yes.
Like your friend.
There's a huge culture there, really.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, Austin's a pretty cool city and it's pretty dynamic. The whole
it is, yeah.
Texas, some people call it the Texaplex, which would be Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. It kind of forms a triangle with I-35 and 45, and then there's a 10 that connects them. There's just so much growth and dynamic things happening in that area. It's pretty fascinating to think about.
Right.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate your time. Well, I want to wish you a lot of success as you launch your company next month.
Thank you.
And then as we venture into 24, just a more prosperous year more generally.
I appreciate that. I also really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you. I know we had a lot of back and forth to schedule this, but
it's always tricky.
I'm really glad.
Getting busy guests on the show, but I appreciate you coming.
I am glad I made it. I'm glad I'm talking to you. And I know we still have businesses to run as time goes on.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Take care, Victor.
Have you been thinking about moving to North Texas? Maybe you're looking in Plano, Dallas, Frisco, or the surrounding communities. Each year, our team helps dozens of families make the move to Texas. We'd love to help you begin your journey. Learn more on our website at hastingsre.com. That's HAISTINGSRE.com.